Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today's subject is all about the inconsistencies of IAM's Roadsmart examiners, and to highlight what should have been a fail results in an overall first pass awarded by John Reg Local, an ex-traffic driving police officer of some years ago who has recently been a motorcyclist for a few years and more recently appointed as an examiner. IAM Roadsmart have chosen to ban me from showing Reg Local's video for the purpose of deconstruction of his decision, but I'm going to deconstruct it anyway by use of timelines. For this to work, first of all, watch the video where IAM Roadsmart threatened me, and then open a second window on your screen and position this video alongside Reg Local's assessment video of usernamekate. The timelines will be given for you to pause on both screens so you can make sense of what's been said. Both links are of course in the description. There are two deconstruction videos. This is the shorter one of the two, which mainly focuses upon the mistakes which I see Reg has made, and the longer version has all of the mistakes listed throughout the whole of the ride that the examiner chooses to ignore or indeed on occasion applaud. So if you want to see that video, you need to click on the third link below for the longer version of this deconstruction. And for all who are new to the channel, then welcome, and feel free to view my other videos which are often interlinked with each other. And of course, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you ever so much. And if you haven't seen the first video, then which sets the scene, I would suggest that you do so, otherwise this one won't make much sense. But first of all, I must point out that IAM Roadsmart have banned me from showing and screening John Reg Local's own video, claiming it's theirs, because I declared that I've identified mistakes of John's assessment and they don't want me to point the finger in public. John, throughout that video, noticing the associate's mistakes, continues to build himself up and finally awards the rider with a first pass off camera. I would like to point out that this video is not focused on the associate rider, but at the level of training being delivered by IAM Roadsmart and the inconsistent levels of local observers and examiners who are appointed just to conduct the tests. This is not personal. So we begin this dialogue with John's video where he does the meet and greet, and he explains that he's conducted the pre-ride put the candidate at ease chat. This should be done by every examiner on every test. But please see my master's test and the video comments about that particular examiner. Inconsistent. It shows that there is inconsistencies between examiners, so thumbs up for John at this point, but he did call the rider a candidate. The IM boasts that all trainee members are to be called associates to make them feel that they are equal to the examiners in a membership status. And John forgot to mention that if he'd conducted an eye test prior to the departure, which is laid down in IM's test standards. So let's get into it. At 21:05, for me, this is the deal breaker. John groans. The associate decides, having left a roundabout, to cross over white hashed broken lines to perform an overtake of a car who also exited the roundabout. And as they become level with the white car whilst on the white hashed lines, there's nothing to prevent the car from turning right across into the right side road which is available. Big rule: never overtake whilst passing junctions. I ask, why overtake in a built-up area of this type at all when it's restricted to 40 miles an hour and the car was already accelerating? The highway code shows at rule 130 these white chevrons should not be entered unless it is necessary, and you can see that it's safe to do so. The question remains, was it necessary? The associate almost runs out of space due to the white car achieving the speed limit, and at one point they go past a second right hand turn. And this, in my opinion, was a bad call due to being trained not to muck about and get on with it. But overtaking a car in a build-up area whilst passing right side turns is a big no-no. And John, at this point, struggles to approve. At least as standard. The associate stays in the white chevrons for what looks like to be about 100 yards and eventually has to swerve to get back into the near side. And John says, "I'll give you that one." But let's see what the associate logbook says on page 37. Overtaking. At times, it says, even a perfectly executed overtake within the speed limit can be seen as dangerous by other parties. In fact, overtaking is the area where riders are most likely to come into conflict with another road user. Either the driver of the vehicle being overtaken or the driver of another vehicle that witnesses in the maneuver. Ask yourself whether any overtake you are about to attempt is really necessary and worthwhile. What's the point, it says, in exposing yourself to unnecessary danger to jump one or two places of traffic in a queue? At 21 minutes and 29, shortly after, whilst waiting at the next roundabout to turn left, up beside us pulls the same white car that we've just overtaken, so we haven't made any progress at all. Too much emphasis is being placed upon riders to overtake under test conditions when they're already under pressure, and that leads to mistakes. It needs to stop. And should we take a look at the wording of the Highway Code, it states many rules in the code are legal requirements. And if you disobey these rules, you're committing a criminal offence. You may be fined, given penalty points on your licence, or disqualified from driving. In the most serious cases, you may be sent to prison. Such rules are identified by the use of the words must and must not. Although at the bottom box it says failure to comply with other rules of the Highway Code will in itself not cause a person to be prosecuted, the Highway Code may be used in evidence in any court proceedings under the Traffic Acts to establish liability. Had that car turned across the rider, who would be to blame? This includes rules, as it says, which use advisory wording such as should and should not, or do and do not, and as we've just seen, it says clearly do not overtake past right-hand junctions. This was a point of safety. The test should have been stopped, and therefore protecting the rider from repeating that safety error. At 29 minutes and 4 seconds, John criticises the associate for following a cyclist whilst there is traffic towards on an open rural road. At this point, I agree with the associate rider. What if the cyclist swerves around a pothole that you can't see whilst you're parallel with the cyclist? Where could the rider go? Progress and restraint has to be balanced. In the new Highway Code, which has been updated, it is abundantly clear as to who carries the greater responsibility of safety and making decisions in regards to vulnerable road users. And that's highlighted within rules Hotel 1, Hotel 2 and 3. The associate overtakes another vehicle. This time it's a blue Land Rover. Looks like a farm vehicle on a rural B road, whilst passing a lay-by to the right with a right side road which probably runs to the farm. Typically farmers' entrances are accessed by the farmers, and farmers can on occasion not bother to indicate because it's their land. You could have either overtaken earlier, later, or not at all. So what I'm going to do is stop at this point, because this is only the tip of the iceberg in relation to this particular examined ride. If you are interested and want to watch the longer version, the link is in the description, some 35 minutes where I deconstruct the whole ride. You'll see the greater majority of the faults on that video which are not listed here. This rider unfortunately can only perform to the standard which has been demonstrated to them by their observer, and therein lies the problem of inconsistency once more. This inconsistency goes back to one person, Richard Gladman, the author of the associate logbook. And what concerns me more is that if John Reg Local, an appointed, not certified examiner, truly believes that this was a quality assessment and a first pass ride, then either he doesn't understand the standard or he was over lenient on this day. Standards, John, are standards. I no longer have any respect for the standards which IAM Roadsmart are now producing, and I am convinced that there are many past IAM certificate holders out there who are likely to feel the same. I have since thrown what was my first pass certificate into the dustbin where it belongs. So this is how I see things as far as the IAM are concerned, and some people will say, well, what's his problem? It's all right for me. Well, that might be the case. So who am I? Well, I happen to have a multi-decade proven professional paid experience of being a trainer and an examiner of all automotive and vehicle technology vehicle types and specialist systems, and I understand how to achieve and test for standards. And what I see before me in the eyes of Reg Local was not a good example of achieving those standards, and I feel now for these riders who are paying good money and they're not getting the best results. I don't know what's going wrong. All I can do is look to the top of the tree of IAM Roadsmart. So in summary, what do I see to be the problem? It starts at the top, of course, with Richard Gladman, who is the author of the Associate Logbook, and please see that additional video about his publication. He is responsible for the training standards not only of the volunteers, observers, who coach paying associates, but also for the standards of the examiners themselves. Richard Gladman, with a conversation with myself, confessed that he was aware that their own examiners are not cross-checked often enough to put everybody on the same song sheet in relation to standards. Because I'd raised this issue with him some 2 years ago about the inconsistencies within the IAM. And needless to say, I'm no longer an active member of the IAM anymore, as I cannot and will not volunteer with any company who has such inconsistent training and testing standards. You can have as much paperwork as you like filled in, but the fact is on the streets. If I were to produce the debrief for that associate on the day, I would approach him and say, first of all, well done for the hard work you put into your ride, but on this occasion, unfortunately, I've awarded you as a fail. I would then go on to say that the fail would be marked upon the examiner's record sheet as a 2 in the safety and legality box. Anything other than a 1 in safety automatically results in a fail. If we look at the criteria for safety and legality, it states, as the examiner, you decide if the associate's ride is legal. Surely this can only be decided by serving police officers and not ex-police officers or indeed civilian examiners. There may be a trade-off, it says, between legality and safety. Consider if a police officer would prosecute for any breach of the road traffic legislation, or whether what was done was reasonable in the circumstances. An associate, it says, cannot plan to exceed the speed limit. The driver on this occasion could have experienced fear and alarm when the rider swerved back in before running out of space due to the driver achieving the 40-mile-an-hour speed limit. Under overtaking, it goes on to say, does the associate understand the principles of overtaking, including the following position and then demonstrating a safe overtake? I do not believe that this overtake, due to all of the rules in the highway code and the guidance of the associate logbook, to be a safe overtake. And the report would be marked as a 2 for safety and then result in a fail. And as for the examiner, Reg Local, I can't even point the finger at him, because he's been given the freedom to ride and examine the way that he sees fit. Where's the control measure for him? Surely it has to be Richard Gladman. Where's his control measure? It's the publication. The publication is unbalanced, and the inconsistencies fall within the whole of the structure of IAM Roadsmart. So where do you point the finger? The only person left is the CEO. Well, I hope this video has been useful, and don't forget to ring that notification bell for the rest of the IAM videos that I will be releasing, in particular the local observers, national observers, masters and so on. And always remember, think safe, ride safe, and I hope to see you on the next one. Bye for now.
That's it, baby. I know you're on a roll. Sweet honey, let's take it real slow.